High Times magazine and Larry Flint, because Larry Flint would purchase all the High Times magazines with Tom Prasad, the original copies, and then resell them. So basically, High Times was funded by Larry Flint.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's just one thing after another. So, and also too in the movie too, you get into the whole thing about the original opium trade and the bankers, how the bankers funded all this, and the same banking institutions that we have today. Can you cover that real quick?
Yeah, well, basically, the America was found by, well, I shouldn't say America, but the Ivy League colleges were founded with tons of money from the wealthiest families who happened to make a lot of their money off of opium dealing, opium shipping. And they did that with the British East India Company. And so I have James Bradley, who was a New York Times bestselling author of what's it called? That Clint Eastwood movie that he made. Clint Eastwood made a movie based on it. Flags of Our Fathers, it was called.
Okay.
And so I had Bradley in the movie explaining that the Lowe family, made their money off of opium shipping before creating Lowe Library at Columbia University and putting the money into a lot of the major buildings of Columbia University. The Russell family put huge amounts of money to start Yale University, and the Russells were the biggest opium shippers in America. And the same thing with Green at Princeton and the Cabots at Harvard. And you can just go through, not all of them, but most of those Ivy League schools were founded by families that made huge amounts of wealth off of opium money. And so I show how this continued, and to the point where the Russells founded the Skull and Bones Society, the secret society at Yale. And each of the people that graduated from Skull and Bones got the equivalent of about $220,000, upon graduation. And so they started off hugely ahead of everyone else with all that kind of money upon graduation. And that money was the Russell Trust, which funded those endowments of each of those Skull and Bones members, was opium money. And so that's some of the way it worked. And so the J.P. Morgan family, P stands for Pierpont. They were intermarried with the Russells. Rockefellers a lot of them graduated from Yale, from Skull and Bones. And, the Carnegies and Vanderbilts were all very close with these other opium shipping families. And that's the way it all worked. They basically founded the eugenics movement. And so you come up to today and you see that J.P. Morgan Chase was founded by the Rockefeller family. J.P. Morgan I just described. And that's the largest bank in the world. And then you got HSBC, which stands for Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation. That's the third largest bank in the world. It's Europe's largest bank. And that was founded just a few years after the Second Opium War. And the Opium Wars were a war in China to force the Chinese to stop banning opium. The Chinese leaders banned opium because they found so much of their population getting addicted. And so England fought 2 wars on behalf of opium shippers. And they won those wars against China and forced China to give up Taiwan and give up Hong Kong. And so that's where that new bank was formed based on that opium shipping, and then became the third largest bank in the world. And now those same banks, though, now are caught laundering between 500 and $1 billion and $1 trillion of drug money. Well, money, we'll say in general, but a majority of it's drug money. And those figures come from the United Nations inspectors. Those are commonly known figures. $500 billion to $1 trillion a year is laundered in U.S. banks. And so it's just, HSBC was caught with a ton of money laundering in Europe, but by the Obama administration actually caught them and fined them. But J.P. Morgan Chase was fined by the Obama administration for massive money laundering, and of course, again, the majority of it drug money, but a number of the banks were caught laundering loads of money that way, to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, as I said.
So here we have these major institutions, some of the greatest founding institutions of the whole of our country, but really the whole world. And they got their fortunes opium. Opium
Started
shipping.
by opium.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, was there ever a day or an incident that we can look to that they point to that say, "Hey, this is the day we stopped doing all that"?
Well, that's the big question.
Yeah.
And just the best evidence, as I said earlier in our interview, Judy Woodruff of Frontline says, here's the CIA document saying that they admitted that they were flying out from Vietnam with the heroin and into the United States with the heroin. So, and then they got CIA agent whistleblower, Stockwell talking about it and all. So, so why was the CIA doing that? Well, the CIA was started by a lot of these top families I talked about, the Rockefellers, Bushes, the Harrimans, the Vanderbilts, the J.P. Morgans, the Carnegies. They were all key to starting the CIA because the CIA was made by the National Security Council Act of 1947. It was made above the law, CIA. Like they were, by its founding, it could do things outside the law, just on base it on the interest of national security. It wasn't national security, right? It was just their own security to keep doing illegal things. The families, the oligarchs that run this country.
Yeah, and you hear these stories. I had Frank Sturgis's nephew on my show. He talks about how Frank had his own B-25 bomber. Had his own bombing jet, and he was dropping bombs at the palace. I think it was in Haiti. Because of a gambling debt that the guy, the president of Haiti, owed a gambling debt to the mafia. And Frank Sturgis is dropping a bomb on his house.
Yeah, for people that don't know, Sturgis was a Watergate plumber. He was caught with by the Nixon administration involved in the Watergate break-in, right?
Oh yeah.
And Sturgis ran with Jose Perdomo, Jose San Giannis Perdomo, who was the doorman at the Dakota the night John Lennon was killed. And it's believed that while Mark Chapman was one of the shooters of John Lennon, the other shooter to make sure it was effective was Jose Perdomo. He was actually the first person suspected of doing the shooting. And so here is a guy, a CIA hitman, who gets a job working as John Lennon's doorman that night at the apartment building, right there when he's killed, and so it's just one of many pieces of evidence that the CIA, murdered John Lennon, sadly enough.
Yeah, it's just one thing after another, and the film covers so many different topics from so many different angles, and it ends pretty much with and here we are now in Afghanistan, pretty much doing the same thing, because the beginning is the whole history of the opium trade, and then toward the end it's back to
opium trade in Afghanistan, right? Thanks. Yeah, I mean, here we are, the longest war in U.S. history in Afghanistan, the second longest war in history in Vietnam, the two areas of the top poppy, to grow poppies to produce opium and heroin in the world. And
it's fascinating too, because I remember they released a video from a bomber jet that Trump had one of the opium, the heroin manufacturing plants in Afghanistan. They bombed it. And this was no little shack. This was like a big, giant factory. This is a big operation. What do you think the motivations, but or maybe like an act, or you think he really did it? What do you think went on there?
I don't know. Yeah, because usually they're protecting the poppy fields. And, there's loads of pictures of soldiers protecting the poppy fields. And they were really upset, when the Taliban actually eradicated the heroin, the poppy fields. They said no more heroin dealing. In 2000, the Taliban, New York Times and Washington Post even admitted that the Taliban had said no more heroin trafficking out of Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And all the U.S. had left in 2000 was the Northern Alliance with a tiny percentage of heroin trafficking, because all the rest was outlawed and stopped. And that was a huge hit on the stock market because of all the money laundering that boosts the stock market. So that was one of the big reasons it appears for the invasion of Afghanistan. But of course, as soon as we controlled Afghanistan more, with all of our occupying forces, all of a sudden the heroin went back into production, and it went just, record-breaking levels in Afghanistan, and still is there today, supplying 70 to 90% of the world with its, opium and heroin. But so I don't know. I didn't hear about what you just said about Trump bombing a heroin-producing factory. If it's true, good that he did. If it's not, I just don't know if it is true. But I was very happy to hear that was pulling soldiers out of Afghanistan and Syria, and that was great news. And God knows how the press attacked him for that. It's ridiculous. But the press has just routinely supported perpetual war, sadly enough, because they're in bed. They share boards of directors with the arms manufacturers and the oil companies and the pharmaceutical companies that get cheaper opium from those places too.
Yeah, I wish we had more time to get into the whole business about how the press is supporting this invasion into Venezuela right now. But unfortunately, right. We don't. Well, maybe we'll have to come back. John, we're out of time. What do you want to leave us with before you go?
Well, thanks so much, Ed, for media like yours that push the new information like this. But I just hope people can look at this information at drugsasweaponsmovie.com and find the places to rent the film or buy the film. And if you like what you hear, remember there's a whole lot more of that information on each subject in the book, and you can buy it there, or you can buy it at drugsasweapons.com.
Yeah, the book is very. The movie is very thoroughly. It covers a lot of topics. Very well researched. A great documentary. John Potash, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Ed.
Good night. Okay, so we had John Potash from johnpotash.com and Drugs as Weapons Against Us movie.com. Check that out. It's available right now on Amazon and YouTube, iTunes, all that kind of stuff. Excellent film, and I'm in it. So you want to support John Potash because I'm in the film. So keep an eye on that. Let's see here. But let me play a little commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages. Let me get over here.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal.
Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book.
Well, once again, thank you so much, John Potash. Drugs as Weapons Against Us. You can find it tonight on. You can order it tonight on Amazon. You can watch it right now. You can rent it for like $3 or something like that. And I'm in it, and Hank Harrison is in it toward the end. It's around the Courtney Love stuff. Excellent film. I really enjoyed it, and winning awards all over the place. I'm not the only one that enjoys it just because I'm in it. Let me read this ad real quick, and then we'll get out of here. What is this here? 21 Financial. Oh no. 21 Financial provides unparalleled personalized accounting services to a broad range of clients across New York and Houston. From now until April 14th, their sole focus is getting taxpayers the biggest refund possible on the money they earned. They're now mobile. You can't go to them. They'll go to you. With the capability to file in any state within the United States. You can find them on Facebook. Book your appointment directly. You give them a call at 903-265-8563. That's 903-265-8563. Speak with Emily. She's great. They can also advance you $6,000 towards your refund. So, you fill out the tax returns and you're eligible for a refund. They'll give you $6,000 right there on the spot. 21 Financial. Check them out on Facebook. If you like today's show and all the shows we do, you go to OppermanReport.com, become a member. We need a couple of memberships just to get us through the month here to survive. So go to OppermanReport.com, become a member. There's like 200 exclusive shows in there that you can't find on YouTube. You can't find them on Spreaker or anything like that. A lot of people, they join the member section and then they think they're going to find extra shows on Spreaker. You're not. You got to go to OppermanReport.com and you go to the members section. That's where you log in. You see all the extra shows. And there's interviews and